Hi, I'm Dr. Shana Rosenblatt Mauer, and I'll be teaching American Jewish women writers. I want to thank you all for joining us here, and it's exciting because for me as an instructor, one of the great things about teaching in this program is the enthusiasm, the knowledge, the life background that the students bring to the program. And in teaching literature, I can't really emphasize enough how enriching it is to have this population, this student population, that brings so much to the classroom. My course this semester will be focused on American Jewish women writers. And when we talk about women writers as a group, we're going back to early feminist thinking about who are these women writers and why do we have a special category? When feminist critics began their study of women as a subcategory within literature, the thinking was that there had been writers who had been overlooked, forgotten, sidelined because of a male-centered publishing trajectory. So possibly what we'll be doing in this course is looking indeed at Jewish women writers who for various reasons are not as well known. It may simply be because they were indeed marginalized by a male-centered publishing environment. It could be because their topics at the time were a bit scandalous or not seemingly appropriate for women to write about. And there may be other factors, and we'll explore them as well. The other consideration when we talk about women writers and a course of women's writing is that the writing might have themes, narrative strategies, characterization, settings that are not typical for the broader genre of American Jewish writing. And we'll see what's specific, what's interesting, what's different, what's noteworthy amongst this body of work produced by American Jewish women writers. And I just want to give you a small sample of the kind of things we might think about. There is a scholar, Sylvia Barak-Fishman, who has argued that between the late 1920s and 1970s, there was actually a bit of a gap in terms of American Jewish women writers. There had been early Jewish immigrant writers, but there hadn't been a real outpouring of writing by American Jewish women writers again until the 70s. And why is that? So she suggests that women writers from the American Jewish environment were in a bit of a quandary. They had been portrayed as American Jewish women in a rather unflattering light by their male colleagues. And I think for those of us who studied Philip Roth together, we have seen some of this. They were portrayed as bourgeois, possibly vapid, spoiled, unthinking, unintellectual, uninteresting in many cases. And they felt that they didn't want to play into these stereotypes, but they didn't quite know how to resist them either. And we have a group of American Jewish women who are writing in the 40s and 50s in a completely deracinated way. They didn't tap into the American Jewish experience because somehow they felt that it was no longer accessible to them. It had been sort of tainted for American Jewish women writers. So we'll think about that and think about this gap, and indeed, if that is a valid reason for them to have not written, and what it did to the trajectory, and what came afterwards. How did American Jewish women writers get beyond that? So that's the kind of question we'll look at. But it's only one of many. And hopefully, not only the texts themselves, but us as readers will evoke a very rich fabric of the factors that kept some of these writers maybe on the sidelines, more so in the past than they are now, and what kind of ideas, what kind of moral implications exist in these texts that are possibly specific to the American Jewish women's writing body of work. So, I look forward to seeing you next semester, and not to worry, there isn't an enormous amount of homework, but we do have readings, and my experience is that the readings, rather than being burdensome and excessive, are usually too brief, and often students will say, well, can you suggest some other works by this writer? We're just getting a taste. So I don't want to scare you off with some sort of gargantuan amount of work. And should you join me in this course, I think we'll have a great time. Thank you.